You'll defrost meat in 5 minutes. Quickly and easily. It's the perfect trick when you need to make dinner at the last minute. I'll show you how to defrost meat in 5 minutes. I'll take the meat out of the bag. I'll show you that it's frozen. Normally, defrosting would take at least an hour. Pieces of pork neck or pork loin, and even a whole piece of meat, need a lot of time after being taken out of the freezer before you can start frying or cooking them. But that won't be necessary anymore. This method of quick meat defrosting is a tried and tested trick. My whole family uses it. And despite the meat being truly frozen, it will be ready for further processing in just a few minutes. And the best part is, you only need 2 ingredients for this. And that's enough. Any frozen meat will defrost quickly. You'll be able to easily separate it and prepare dinner from it. Pour 2 liters of water into a container. The water should be at room temperature. It shouldn't be warm, let alone hot. Now it's time for the most important ingredient. It's vinegar. You can adjust the amount depending on the amount of meat you need to defrost. The more meat you have, the more vinegar you pour into the water. The second important ingredient is salt. For this portion of meat, I'll use a tablespoon of salt. Wrap the meat tightly in a bag. Place it in the water. Put something heavy on top so it doesn't float. I'll use a hammer right now. Take the meat out after 5 minutes and see the result. It's almost hard to believe that the meat is defrosted in just a few minutes. It was primarily the vinegar and salt that made the frozen meat soften so quickly. See how simple it is? You can start making dinner.
Pork skewers with potatoes are a version for enthusiasts of both skewers and pork. Have you ever tried making pork skewers? Prepare about 1 kilogram of boneless pork shoulder. Cut it into pieces about 1 centimeter thick. Spread all the pieces on a cutting board and cover with plastic wrap. Take a meat mallet and gently pound all the prepared cutlets. Remove the wrap and season the meat with salt and pepper on both sides. Take 2 large potatoes and cut them into slices of medium thickness. Transfer them to a bowl. Sprinkle with salt and pepper to taste. Season with a teaspoon of sweet red paprika. Pour 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil and gently mix the potatoes. Take 2 skewers for the skewers. On the cutting board, place 2 slices of potatoes next to each other. Pierce them with the skewers. 1 skewer for 1 slice of potato. Now take the first piece of meat and place it on the skewers. Press it against the potatoes. Now take 2 onion rings and place them on the meat. Place bacon on the onion. Now create a layer with potatoes and then add meat, onion, and bacon sequentially. Arrange the skewer's ingredients in alternating layers. When the skewer is too large, you can lay it on the cutting board and finish adding more layers. When all the layers are ready, the skewer will look like this. All the layers are visible. Now, prepare aluminum foil and moistened baking paper. Moist paper is more flexible and makes it easier to wrap the meat and shape it for the baking sheet. Place the skewer on the paper, wrap it, and pack it tightly in foil. Transfer the skewer to an oven-proof dish and bake in an oven preheated to 200 degrees Celsius for 1 hour. In the meantime, prepare a marinade with 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of ketchup, a small teaspoon of French mustard, and 2 teaspoons of honey. Mix the marinade. After an hour of baking the meat, remove it and unwrap it from the foil and paper. Brush the marinade with a brush. Do this on the entire surface. Put the skewer back in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes until it turns golden brown. After baking, remove the skewer and transfer it to a plate. It looks juicy and delicious. Cut it in half lengthwise. Such a skewer is a perfect idea for a tasty dinner or an unusual supper. Such a herring roll disappears from the table in the blink of an eye. Even people who don't like this fish eat it. Place food foil on the cutting board. Lay the sliced beets flat. Place them so that they overlap. There should be no holes or gaps. Then, put 5 tablespoons of grated beetroot on them. Spread it all over, so that a uniform layer is created. Place the mayonnaise in a pastry bag, spread it all over. Don't add too much so that the roulade doesn't taste too heavy. Prepare 4 boiled potatoes and 3 boiled carrots. Grate them on a coarse grater. Transfer them to the roll. Start by laying out the potatoes. Then add the carrot. Spread evenly by pressing lightly. Cut the herring pieces into narrow strips. They should not be too large to make it easier to roll the entire dish. Place them along the short side. Garnish with fresh dill. Add to the entire length. Start rolling the prepared roulade. Roll tightly to create layers. Cling film will be very helpful. Once you have wrapped the roulade, secure it with foil and put it in the fridge for 3 hours. Take the roulade out just before serving. Cut it into pieces. Garnish with mayonnaise and dill. This dish looks beautiful on the Christmas table. The combination of beetroot and herring is delicious. Even people who don't really like the taste of this fish eat it. This is the best pork chop recipe I have ever tried. It's aromatic and juicy. Cut the meat into pieces, but don't cut all the way through, creating a harmonica-like shape. Transfer it to a baking dish. In a bowl, add a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, and herbe de Provence. Mix thoroughly and sprinkle this spice mixture over the meat, making sure to cover every centimeter of the pork chop. Peel 2 onions and cut them in half, then slice them into strips. Take a piece of bacon and slice it into pieces of similar thickness. Layer each piece of pork chop with onion strips, placing 2 pieces in each cut. Add the bacon as well, pressing them deep into the cuts to prevent them from fouling out during baking. Prepare 200 grams of vegetable oil. Add a teaspoon of salt, marjoram, and sweet paprika. Mix everything thoroughly. Apply this marinade using a silicone brush, spreading it evenly over the entire pork chop. The final step is sauerkraut. It's very healthy and prepared this way. It's delicious. Place it around the roast in the baking dish, filling any empty spaces. Bake for 50 minutes in an oven, preheated to 392 degrees Fahrenheit. After this time, your meal for the whole family will be ready for an hour. The sauerkraut will be well seasoned. Pork chops are often dry, but this recipe ensures they are always flavorful and juicy. It's a perfect idea for a family dinner or a larger gathering. The meat literally melts in your mouth,